Всем привет, good evening. Nice to see all of you. A lot of people online already saying hello. My name is Matt Thompson. Welcome to English You Can Use. This is the program where you can learn English that you actually use in real everyday life. Americans use this type of English. So it's not in theory, it's not impractical. This is real English you can use. I want everybody to say hello, and I want to do something different tonight. I want you to write in the comments section hello in whatever your native language is. So if it's Russian, great. If it's English, if it's some other language, say hello. That's what I got. Just want to see all the different people who are tuning in from across Russia. We have a really special guest tonight. We have the Consul General of the U.S. Consulate General in Yekaterinburg, Amy Storrow. She's going to talk to us a little bit about what it's like to be a diplomat, talk a little bit about visas, and dispel some myths. And we're going to talk about anything you want to talk about. So there's quite a few. Привет, привет, good evening. Nice to see you, Anya, Max, Eva, Vladislav. Excellent. Great to see you. It's lighter out now. It's warmer. I'm in a little better mood. So I hope you're in a better mood as well. So let's move on to our word of the day. I want to teach you really fast. This is something you should not forget. So I'm looking right at you. Don't forget this phrase. It's not too hard. Okay, Raisa, good evening. Put you up on the screen. So the word I want you to remember is, it's actually a phrase, not a word. To give a heads up. To give a heads up. So no, you probably know to give, dot, head, it's this, up, you know. It does not mean to look up. It means this. Let me see if I can get it now. To give advance notice. So if you hear someone say, hey, just give me a heads up when you're ready. Give me a heads up when you come or arrive at the club. They're saying, just give me advance notice. There's Yulia from, I think, Nizhny Tagil. Nice to see you. And in Russian, I also have it here so you can learn it. It means soобщить заранее. Okay, so now you got it right there on screen. To give a heads up is to give advance notice. Сообщить заранее. I hope I'm saying that correctly in Russian. And I have Raisa here saying, my native language is Tatar, which is Bashkir language. I would love to know what hello is in Bashkir or Tatar. So let's move on. You came here to learn English. So a lot of you might one day work in an office where people are speaking English. And it is very frustrating to think you understand everything and have studied for many years, and then people start using very strange phrases. So I hope this will help you one day, or it will help you right now if you're working with English speakers in your office. First idiom or idiomatic expression is crunch numbers. Crunch. Crunch is like a sound that you make. Obviously, you know numbers. It's an expression, kind of stupid, but it means to analyze numbers, just to analyze. And a favorite phrase sometimes is for people to go to accountants and say, crunch the numbers for me. Means, you know, go through the numbers and make sure they're correct. And that's what they mean, just analyze, to analyze. So if you hear that, just relax. Crunch numbers means to analyze. Next one, take it offline. I sometimes see this in emails. And that means when someone does not want to write something. And it means, let's speak in person. Let's speak in person. Offline means in person. We don't want to write about it. I want to speak to you in person. It means maybe it's more personal or maybe it's sensitive. Who knows why? But if someone tells you that in an email or a text, that means let's speak in person. Ясно? Понятно? Okay, let's move to the next one. Lines got crossed. Well, this could happen quite easily if English is not your first language. And it happens even to native speakers a lot. So lines got crossed. Do you think maybe you can sense what this is? Maybe take a guess. Lines got crossed. Tiana says it's clear. Понятно. All right. Lines got crossed means to be confused. To be confused. I think it has to do with maybe old like telephone lines or something, maybe. I'm not quite sure. But it just means someone doesn't quite understand. Я перепутал. That's what it was, I think, in Russian. Все заходится. Elena gets it. Okay, I'm putting your comments up on the screen. So you know I'm listening to you. Lines got crossed. Запутиться. Запутиться. Let's go to the next one. To pass the buck. To pass the buck. This is a weird one, but it's really useful because many people use it in the United States. Hopefully they don't use it often, but it's a familiar expression to use. To pass the buck is not a good thing. It means to blame someone else or to shift or take responsibility to another person. So an example I would use would say, I was late to work, so I'm going to pass the buck to my wife. She made me late. Or I turned in the report with lots of mistakes. It's because the other person wrote it, so I'm going to pass the buck on to them. It has a negative connotation. I don't think it's ever positive. So something you can use. I hope no one says that to you. I'm going to pass the buck to you. And then last one, kind of a fun one, kind of strange, brownie points. And no doubt I've been in bakeries here in Russia and they have little chocolate cookies and they'll say brownie in Russian. So I know that Russians know about this. It's a wonderful, chocolatey, good American dessert. And brownie points is something that it can be positive, but it can also have negative feeling to it. It means to get a praise or approval for doing something well. Hello, Misha. Misha's back. I always remember Misha because he has the nice bear in his logo with a little hat. So again, brownie points means I'm going to do something really good for my boss, so I get brownie points. So I get credit. And some people might not like that. It means like you're almost trying too hard to impress somebody. Too hard. So if somebody in your office says, "Oh, look at you. You're doing really well. You're going to get brownie points from the boss." Be careful. Maybe that wasn't a compliment. Maybe it is. Maybe it is. All right. So let's go back quickly. Brownie points. Let's see. To pass the buck. Lines got crossed. Misha says, Matt, brownie point. Thank you. Take it offline. Raisa, pass the buck. Let's see. Pass the buck means to blame someone else. Blame someone else. Means you're passing like the responsibility over. And let's go back all the way to the first one, which was to crunch numbers, to analyze. All right. So let's move on to translation. And I did this in pass the buck. Yes. B-U-C-K. like bucks, like American bucks. It means pass the dollars. The translation for today is because of Maslenitsa is coming up, and we need some hope, and we need some nice, good weather. So, прекрасная весна, что ты нам принес? Прекрасная весна, что ты нам принес? I think it's a народный phrase from some poetry, something from a folk line. So what would that be in English? Can you translate that? Let's see how good you are. And I want to see how many people can get this, all right? Right now I see we have about almost 70 people. So I want to hear from you. I'm looking right at you in the camera. Cold water and boots. I think I want the translation, not the answer to the question. Is it принесла? I don't know. Maybe it is. I think it's not прекрасная весна. Oh, maybe it is, but that's not what I got from the book. Thank you, Svetlana, for helping out with the Russian. Maybe I don't know if it's like talking to spring, but maybe it is. Angelina says, nice spring, what do we get? Elena says, beautiful spring, what have you brought us? I think that's pretty close into English. That's what sounds the best. But Angelina is also right. Wonderful spring, what have you brought? Christina, that's excellent. That's an excellent translation. Yes, Vesna's her. And Anastasia, let's see, I'll put her on screen. Wonderful spring, what have you brought us? You guys got it all right. You're right on. You're really good. Great spring. Natalia says, great spring, what have you brought us? Excellent. All right, wonderful. Well, let's move on now. We're going to talk to Miss Amy Storrow. Welcome. Thanks for joining us this evening.
Hi, Matt. I'm so glad to be here.
I hope spring is near. What do you think? Are you feeling that spring's close?
Pozdravляю с началом весны.
Yes. Yes. We're kind of celebrating in the snow for the beginning of spring, but
for Americans, it seems a little early to be celebrating the spring, but I love the idea anyway, and think that pretty soon we should start celebrating summer. We'll just get out some little umbrellas and have some nice warm snacks. So.
Uh-oh. Are we still there? Yeah, are we still live? I think so. Sorry.
Can you hear me?
I hit something.
Okay.
Oh, too many buttons up here on the screen. All right. So let's first start out. I think one question that's on people's mind, and to everyone, audience, please think of questions. I'll share them on screen, and so she can answer your questions. But first question I have is, what's a typical day for you? I know pandemic's been a little strange, but what do you do as a diplomat every day? I think it's a little curious.
Yeah, good question. I think my role is kind of strange because it morphs a little bit. On the one hand, I'm the public face of the United States to a large portion of the Urals and Western and Central Siberia. On the other hand, I'm a manager, so I work with with my team. And on the other hand, I'm also the main liaison between the consulate and the embassy in Moscow. So I've kind of got those three things, and I juggle what I'm doing when. My routine has changed a lot because of the pandemic, of course. So, and also like everybody everywhere, I spend a lot of time doing email. But in the morning, first thing, we have a meeting that's online. And then I generally have a block of time for some kind of project. So for example, tomorrow I'm going to make a video for my series, Now Just a Minute, where I go, no, just a minute. Then I eat lunch. Ksenia, it's great to see you again too. Thanks for joining tonight. And then I go to the consulate and I have in-person meetings with people and go and visit people. And then sometimes, like tonight, I have wonderful evening events where I get to talk with people. So also usually at some point during the day, I have some kind of communication with the embassy in Moscow. So that's pretty much what it is. It varies by day, of course, but it's always interesting and always fun.
So it's a combination of reaching out to people and getting to know and talking to people, and then also office work.
Exactly, exactly.
Wonderful.
Touched.
Well, remember, please, if you have a question, please ask. Feel free, feel open. It can be about anything. Let's talk about something that many people have been asking us about through emails and messages on social media, and that's about visas. What's the status of visas? Are you issuing them? Can people get appointments? What's happening?
Well, for a while during the pandemic, we were only able to do renewals for crew members and crew members and students who already had visas, and at an extremely limited basis. And that's partly because we're following guidance from Washington that's worldwide about the pandemic and how to make our operations as safe as possible. Just lately, we've been able to open up very few appointments for renewals of B1, B2 visas. And I know people are really excited about that. And I'm always happy when people want to travel to the United States, because the best way to get to know American culture is to go there yourself. But we don't want to have what I sometimes call a disappointment machine, where we think this amazing thing is going to happen and we can't quite do it yet. So because our waiting room is very small, and because we have to follow this guidance from Washington, right now the appointments that we have available are very, very small. We hope we'll be able to open them up further as time goes along. But do remember that if you go to the United States, you'll still need to get a COVID test before you arrive, and that there are still some issues like that that are in play. It's wonderful to see such interest. It's funny, on the other hand, that American tourists can't yet come to Russia either. So I think that maybe puts it a little bit into context of where various governments are as they deal with people coming into their country. But we'll open it up as soon as we can do it safely, and given that we also have staffing constraints.
Alexei has a question. How do you care for your fitness? So I think in another phrase, it'd be, how do you exercise, or how do you stay fit?
I have two ways I exercise. One is sort of normal and one is ridiculous. So the normal one is that I walk a lot, and I walk with friends, or I even walk sometimes with friends back in the United States via WhatsApp. And then I also jog around my apartment. And I pretend that I'm swimming, so I move my arms as I'm jogging around, and I do various swimming strokes, or I carry bags of rice to make it a little trickier. And if you do that for half an hour and you're jogging pretty fast, you can work up a good sweat. So it's fun. I listen to music while I'm doing it.
That sounds good. Raisa's question about visa process: can Russian citizens apply for visas now? If you do not have a visa previously, no. There are only very limited appointments for people to renew, people who have had visas in the last year, unless you're a student.
That's a very important point. Thanks for clarifying that. It is only renewals at this point.
And so the next question, Svetlana says, what do you miss the most while you're here, far away from home, in such a challenging time?
Oh, good question. I miss my family the most, I think. I get photos from them often. I have a new niece who was born on my birthday, and I got a photo of her last night where she's with her mom in a baby carrier, and they're tapping a tree for sap in Vermont. And just seeing that, it just makes me wish that I were home. So it's being with my family that I miss the most, for sure.
Let's say Alexei says, it's great to see you, Amy. When will the next English speaking club be held again? Hello,
Alexei. That's a great question. It's going to be a while, I think. As you may remember, English Club, we had sometimes 200 people pretty squishy in one room, and we need to make sure that we can do that safely. But I want to commend Matt, because this is our online version of that. And it's been going really well. And we're so excited that you're tuning in and hope that you're enjoying the experience. Also, this is my cat and the cat's tail. So
Yeah, I was going to say, Rosie's joining.
Rosie loves to join. Yes.
Another question here from Dana or Dana. We heard the consul talking about B1, B2 applications. We put in our application to renew, but during the shutdown, the visa expired. How do we go forward? I don't know. Do you want to give that advice or what they should do?
That's a question I'm not sure completely of the answer, and I don't want to give a wrong answer. So I would recommend that you contact our consular section unless, Matt, you know the answer.
Yeah, I think they're eligible if it expired within a year, you can renew. But I think they should contact the visa office here in Yekaterinburg, and they'll get back to you very quickly.
That's right. You'll know that you have the right answer. I believe that's right as well. So.
Eva says, how would you just describe Russian people in 3 words?
Ooh, that's a good question, Eva. I would say warm, friendly, and smart.
Despite the cold, they are warm.
Yep.
Tatiana says, many people prefer reading books to watching TV. What writers are your favorite? What book is on your table now? What book would you like to read? That's 3 questions.
That's a lot of questions. Yes, thanks, Tatiana. So I have a lot of favorite authors, and hard to maybe choose just a few. One is a British author named Ian McEwan. Another is an author named Margot Livesey. Right now, I'm reading a wonderful book by a woman who was born here in Russia named Maria Konnikova, who's writing a book about poker and decision-making. She has a PhD in psychology, but she's never played poker. And she wants to learn the game to learn about how people make decisions. And she ends up being very good at it and wins a total of $300,000. Oh. The book is called The Biggest Bluff, and it's wonderful. And she has some stories of speaking Russian with the people that she encounters, and I recommend it highly. What book would I like to read? I have a long list of books. So it's hard to choose. Definitely more by Maria Konnikova. I try every year to read a lot of fiction and really enjoy that as well. One book I read recently was called The Midnight Library. And it's also about choices. It's where the narrator relives a different branch of her life that she didn't take, where she thought that something would happen if she took that branch, but instead every single time it goes in another direction. And the idea there is that we get to choose choices, not outcomes. And I think that's a fascinating thing.
Wonderful. Those 2 great recommendations. I don't want to ignore, Dana had a follow-up question about contacting us, but I see we've put the answer in the comment section. You need to write them in email. That will really help. You'll get through to them. Max asks, winter is very cold this year. Are you not cold in Yekaterinburg?
I've learned some tricks. One trick I've learned is to wear 2 hats and then my hood. And then local friends have made sure that I wear mittens rather than gloves. That's very important.
Yeah.
And then I have a long coat, and that helps a lot. And then I've found that wearing a mask makes it a lot more comfortable. I'm a lot less cold than I used to be because the mask keeps some heat in. So it's not too bad as long as I dress carefully. I like watching how the locals, if it's really cold, they'll stand with their legs very together at say a stoplight, and that helps to keep the heat in as well.
Good strategy. Christina has a question, and you were once a consular officer years ago. Mm-hmm. If you want to have a shot to visit the U.S. like a tourist, you've never been outside the Soviet countries, how are my chances? Should I have stamps in EU countries first?
Good question. And it's been a long time since I've been a consular officer. I would say generally decisions are made based on the strength of your ties to your home country. So if you can prove that you have so much going on here that you're absolutely going to come back. That's the most important thing.
Yeah. I would say stamps in EU countries doesn't matter.
Yeah. No.
Elena says, nice to see you both. There's a lot of questions now. And I'm going to make sure I read them. This is really long from Elena. So what 3 traits of a true diplomat should you have to build up a successful career? And what are those 3 ones would you not be helpful in this? What do you like to personally change?
That's a big question that I wish I could think about. So this is my off the top of my mind answer.
Глубокий вопрос.
Yeah. I think the first characteristic you have to have is flexibility, because at least in our system, you sign a lot of paperwork, and the paperwork says you agree to go anywhere in the world. And you don't know where you're going to go. So if you're thinking about being a diplomat, imagine you're sent to the place you least want to go in the whole world, and you have to live there for 2 to 3 years. And if you can't do that, don't even try. It's not going to work. The second is curiosity. I think you have to have an intense curiosity about other cultures and peoples. And if you think you're going to go into it and you already know stuff, you're going to be disappointed. And I think maybe third, I'd say an ability to connect with people. That if you want to make a mutual relationship, it's not just one way. You're not there to be a reporter from Mars. If you're going to be a diplomat, you really want to engage with people. So those would be the top 3 off the top of my head. As far as negative, pretty much I would say the reverse of that. So if you're very inflexible, it's not going to work. If you're either incurious because you're not interested, or you think you already know everything, it's not going to work. And if you are not able to connect with people, or you just sort of think, people, schmeeple, I don't really need them, it's not going to work either. So that's off the top.
No, that would be a difficult career.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm keeping up things here. I want to make sure everybody gets a chance. Igor asks, hello, what things cheer you up? I'll speak very quickly. Sunlight. Sunlight now in this time of year. Today was much better with the sunlight. How about you?
Oh, sunlight definitely cheers me up. Also, but snow cheers me up too.
Yeah.
So fresh snow is so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Music cheers me up. I know that, like many people, music can just change my whole mood very quickly. And feeling cozy cheers me up, I guess I'd say.
Yep. Another visa question. Anya says, what do you think is the possibility of getting a J1 visa in the coming months? Boy, hard to say. Boy,
yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know either. We hope it will happen. It depends on a lot of factors that are beyond our control. So
yeah, we hope so. And then just a comment from Christina. She said her daughter is named Emily, which is very, and they call her Emmy, which sounds super similar. That is true.
Say hello to your daughter for me, Christina.
I don't know if we can answer this if you want to, but it's a tough one. So is there one cultural feature you cannot put up with?
Well, if you have one, Matt, you can go first while I'm still thinking. I'm not sure.
You know, this is being diplomatic. This is part of the challenge. I think there something very simple is standing in line. Russians tend to want to be closer than I am comfortable with. It's not like I can't put up with it. I just am not used to it. So sometimes when people are very close, I want them to like move back a little bit because I think the expectation of space in the US is a little bit different. But that's just a cultural difference. It's not like, you get used to it. I don't know. That's mine.
I'd say maybe the same thing is true for me in cars, that sometimes the cars are they'll pass a little with a shorter distance, say, than in the United States, something like that. So, okay. Yeah. Same kind of idea of what is the proximate space.
Okay, we got Dimitri with a question. Have you ever swam in the ice hole in the winter for the epiphany?
I have not. I wish that I had, but no.
Me either. I saw people doing it. in real life, and I could not believe it. It looked really cold.
Yeah, but there's always something new to try, so that'll be a good thing to try. So,
Um, I think this is a question we can answer,
mhm.
but we won't be able to give much clarity on it. But I've heard that the U.S. consulate is about to close soon. Is that really true?
Uh, the previous administration, Secretary Pompeo and Ambassador Sullivan, proposed suspending operations temporarily for the consulate. And so that's something that is still in the works. But meanwhile, we live in the present and enjoy being here and see what will happen. So that's pretty much what I can say at this point. I would say too that it has to do with staffing throughout all of the embassy and the two consulates, and making sure that those numbers are all aligned so that people can do their jobs in the best possible way.
I'm just going to put this up because Regina notices that I have a Spanish dictionary back here, which I got in Mexico as a gift. So you still speak Spanish a little bit, correct, Amy?
Sí, claro que sí.
And Anastasia said, what do you really love about your job, and do you find it interesting, and how does it inspire you? Or does it inspire you?
I think, Matt, one way that we're similar is that we're both builders. We like to build things that are fun. By building, I don't mean a building, because that would not be in anybody's best interest in my case, but programs, experiences for people, new opportunities. And that's fun when you think, wow, I have this cool idea. And if we can pull this off, we'll have new opportunities for, X number of Russians. And wouldn't that be fun? And that's what I get the most excitement out of.
Yeah, me too. I worked a job at the University of Washington in Seattle years ago, and it was an organization that helped international students connect with Americans in Seattle. And I loved being able to help facilitate or organize events that brought people from all over the world into one room to share and to learn from each other. So it was really fun to work there because every day a new student from a new country would come in. So I got to learn how to say like Anyan, hello, in Korean, kapung kap, thank you in Thai, Saudi students, Russian students, everybody. And it was so interesting. And it was a great experience. So this is kind of like Konstantin, we just keep having more questions here. Matt and Amy, which brokers do you prefer to invest in the U.S.?
That's a very particular question. I think that would involve giving an endorsement of a private firm. So I'm going to pass on answering that question. But I do encourage people to take a long-term look at financing for their whole lives. How about that?
So Ksenia also asked again, could you explain how to get a B1 visa now? My stamp finished a year ago. What can I do? I don't know if I want to answer for you, Amy, but Ksenia, you need to, in the comment section above, write an email to the consular section and ask them how to do that. We're accepting renewals, like renewing B1, B2s, but there are specific rules about who can renew. And we probably should not give consular advice because we're not consular officers. Might have changed. All right. Let's see if we even. What is your favorite place in Yekaterinburg? A street, a restaurant, maybe?
I think probably for me it's the Platinka. I just think it's so pretty to walk there, and whenever there's running water, I'm very happy. And I love the ice on the pond too, and how it creates this play space. So both of those places I'd say are my favorites. How about for you, Matt?
I think the Riverwalk and then the park beyond, which I can't say. It starts with a D, and I always screw up the name. but it's really pretty in the summertime. It has a big fountain, and the trees are really old and beautiful.
Oh, the tree park. It's like dendrographia, but it's not. I know exactly.
Yeah, dend
I
something.
love that word. Yeah. It's from the Latin word for tree. So, yeah.
Well, thank you for all of your questions and comments. And it's wonderful to be able to connect in some way during this really difficult time. We'll have one last question because it's a good question. Last question. What is your favorite city in the United States? Sami
I think probably Boston.
Boston.
For me. Boston. Yeah. It's I have a lot of family in Boston. I didn't grow up there, but nearby. So I have memories from my whole life of being there. And it's very pretty and lots to do and lots of super interesting people to talk to.
It's a wonderful city. Yeah, it's very historic. Well, thanks for taking the time to just talk and chat with us and update us on some news from the consulate and what's going on with you. And I hope we'll continue to have lighter days and warmer days and evenings as we come.
Thanks so much for having me on the program. I really enjoyed it. And it's great to see so many familiar names come up, Norziga and Konstantin and others. And know that we miss you and we're looking forward to seeing you in person again as soon as we can do it safely. And I'm also glad to see so many Boston fans here. So.
Yes. Yes. And the ambassador is a big Boston. He's a Bostonian too, as well. So,
yeah. Yes.
All right. Well, everyone, thank you so much. I'm going to keep putting your messages up here. We have another program next week, and I think you're really going to want to stay, and you're going to want to join us next week. And I'm going to put her picture up here. And it's Michelle Birdie. Michelle Birdie is a world-class interpreter. She's lived in Russia since the early 80s or late 70s. She's written a book about English-Russian linguistic relationship. She now works at the Moscow Times in Moscow. She's come out here for a visit with us. You won't want to miss it because her Russian is прекрасно. It's perfect, and she's just a funny, wonderful, warm person. So I hope you can join us next Tuesday, 7 p.m. at the same time. As I always say, please share this with your friends or with people you think are wanting to learn and take their English from here just a little bit higher. And so share it and tell them about our YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Vkontakte pages. This will be recorded, so if you didn't pick up everything at the beginning, come back and listen to it again to learn. As always, if you have a comment, a criticism, or a compliment, leave it in the comment section and we'll respond to you. Have a great evening and talk to you next week. Bye-bye.